Okay, guys, we're going to start tonight on a little bit of an advanced teaching here. It's an advanced level. We're all on different walks, different levels of understanding. And this is going to be a little bit advanced. And get out of it what you can. And if you don't get a lot out of it, just see what you can glean out of it. But we're going to talk about righteousness today. And we're going to find out three different things. What is righteousness? How do we attain righteousness? And how important is it? Does this sound funny? Is that all right? Okay. And then I'm going to title this, "The Word of Yah Brings Us into the Word of Yah." This is going to be the title of this. Or, "The Righteousness of Yah Brings Us into the Righteousness of Yah." We have our own righteousness that we attain to, and we have His righteousness we attain to. And if we look and really study it and understand what it says, there's something we have to do. There's something there's a work that we do. It's either our own or we have to attain to His. If I say the house of Moses, does anybody know what I mean when I say the house of Moses? If I just say the house of Moses. Yeah, that's what I say. It sounds funny up here. If I say the house of Moses, what does that mean to y'all?
Well, I would say like the laws that Moses taught.
Okay. It's the Torah established. But what else did Moses establish? A priesthood. A priesthood through his what? His brother Aaron, the Levites. And so when we say the house of Moses, we know that it's the Torah plus the sacrificial system of what we call Old Testament. When I say the house of Moses, okay, does that make sense to everybody? And I'm going to teach you all about two houses tonight: the house of Moses, and I'm going to teach you about the house of Yahshua, which is separate than the house of Moses. This is my two-house theory. Let's go to Let's go to Hebrews 3:1. And we're going to go to 6. It says, "Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, and consider the apostle and high priest of our profession of our faith, Yahshua Mashiach, who was faithful to him that appointed him, as also Moses was faithful in all his house." See, Moses was faithful in his house, does it say? The house of Moses. "For this man was counted more worthy of more glory than Moses, insomuch he who hath built the house has more honor than the house." Who do y'all think built the house of Moses? Who do y'all think established the house of Moses? That's right. He has more honor than the house that he built. "For every house is built by some man, but he that builds all things is Elohim. And Moses verily was faithful in all his house as a servant for a testimony of those things which will be spoken of afterwards." In other words, it's a type of shadow of something that's coming in the future. That's what it's talking about. But the Messiah, listen, as a son over his own house. His own house, is what it says. "Whose house are we if we hold fast in confidence and rejoicing to the hope firm until the end?" Now we got the house of Moses and the house of Yahshua. Now remember what Moses says in the Torah. It says that the Father's going to raise up one from the brother and liken to me. Hear you him. And if you don't hear him, what happens? You remember what it said? It's destruction. Hear you him. So if you look at it, the Messiah is going to be, his house is going to be structured after the house of Moses, because he said it's likened to me. It's likened to me. And Rick Corley has a real good study over that. If y'all want to look at that, he has a real good study on that. So if Moses established a priesthood, what is the Messiah going to do? It's a type of shadow. What's he going to do?
Establish a priesthood.
Huh?
Establish a priesthood.
He's going to establish a priesthood. He's going to establish a priesthood. Just like like Moses did. Let's go to 1 Peter 2, 5 through 9. Let's read up here. Ye also, as lively stones, are built up into a house, a holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to Elohim by the Yahshua the Mashiach. Wherefore also it is contained in the Scripture, Behold, I lay a chief cornerstone, and elect precious, that he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Well, we're going to take a second tonight. And to you therefore, which believe he is precious, but to them which disobedient, that stone which the builders disallowed, that same is made the head cornerstone. The stone of stumbling, the rock of offense, even to them that stumble at the word, being disobedient to where they were appointed. But you are chosen generations, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, particular people, that you should show forth the praise of him that has called you out of the darkness into his marvelous light. Let's go to Hebrews 13, 14 through 16. I'm going to stop at 14 here. Stop here. It says, For here we have no continuing city, but we seek one to come. What he's saying is, on this earth we have no continuing city. No, we read in Scripture about this continuing city. That it's going to continue forever, forever and ever and ever. You know, in our mind, we think it's talking about the Jerusalem over there on this earth, on this land. We think that that's the one that's talking about. But here he says we don't have. We seek one to come. This is when he's talking about favorably in the prophets about Jerusalem. It's not talking about the one below. It's talking about the one above, Jerusalem above. Let's go to. It says, By him therefore, let's offer the sacrifice of praise to Elohim continually. That is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. And it says, But to do good and forget not with such sacrifices, Elohim is well pleased. Now, does it say in the prophets that his house will be a house of blood? A house of sacrifices? No, it says it's going to be a house of prayer. And we offer up the sacrifices by the calves of our lips, instead of by the blood of bull and goats. We know that the book of Hebrews tells us this. And we're going to ask our question. Do we want to come up under the service of the house below, under the house of Moses? Are we going to reestablish that as a people? Or are we going to establish or submit to the one above? One above. Let's go to Galatians 4:23. And we'll read a little bit. Let's go back to 22. Let's go back to 21. Have you desired to be under the law? Do you not hear the law? Ooh, did y'all hear that? Y'all want to be under the law? Y'all want to be under the law? What's that sound? Does that sound negative to y'all? Huh? Well, it kind of does. But we're going to explain it. I hope we get to the understanding of what that means a little bit later on in this study. For it's written that Abraham had two sons, one by bondmaid and another by free woman. But he who was the bondwoman was born after the flesh, below. But he was a free woman, was born by promise. And this is covenant of promise. What we're talking about, the covenant of promise, or the one below. one from Mount Sinai bringeth bondage, which is Hagar. For this is Hagar's Mount Sinai in Arabia, and answers to Jerusalem, which is now in bondage with her children. But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, and the mother of us all. Well, let's stop right there. So who do we want to be engendered to? What priesthood do you want a part of? What sacrificial system are you going to take part of? The one below or the one above? What house are you going to give your homage to and your service to? And we ought to ask ourselves. Are we going? You know, a bunch of us in these groups, we're going back and reestablish again Moses, the house of Moses. For as written, rejoice thou that it's 27. It says, rejoice thou that beareth not. Break forth and cry that thou travelest not. For the desolate has many more children than she that has the husband. Is it a wide gate or a narrow gate? No. Now we, brother, as Isaac, are the children of the promise. Of the promise. But as then he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the spirit, even is so now. You give this teaching, there's going to be a lot of people mad at you in these groups. I've been mad at it before. Probably we get to be mad at it again. But these are two covenants that were given. And I want us to understand these two covenants and how these two covenants transpired with the children of Israel. Let's go to Ezekiel 16 and 61. It says, then thou shalt remember thy ways and be ashamed when thou receive thy sister, thy elder, and thy younger. And I will give them for thee for the daughters, but not by thy covenant. And I will establish my covenant with thee, and thou shalt know I am him. And thou mayest remember and be confounded, and never open thy mouth any more because of the shame when I have pacified toward thee for all that thou hast done, says your sovereign Yahweh. There's two covenants that transpired with the children of Israel back in the Old Covenant, what we call the Old Covenant. I'm going to show these to y'all. Let's go to Jeremiah 31:31. Behold, the day cometh, says Yahweh, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers the day that I brought them out to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which covenant they broke, although I was a husband to them, says the Master. This is a different covenant. We're just talking about it. This is a different covenant than the one that they agreed upon. What is the covenant of promise? We see. I'm going to do a teaching on the covenants in Sukkot, and this kind of touches up on some of it. But let's look at this. Let's go ahead and read on. But this covenant shall be 33. But this covenant shall be after that I'll make them the house of Israel, and after the days, it says the Master, I'll put my laws in their inmost part, and I'll write on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim, they shall be my people. And blah, 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 goes on and on and on. Well, what exactly is this talking about? Let's go to Exodus 19 and 6. This is the covenant of promise. This is what he promised Israel. What he promised. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests. A kingdom of priests. This is the promises given up to them. A holy nation. These are the words that Yahshua is speaking to the children of Israel. So the promise to Israel that there's going to be a nation of priests. A nation. That was a promise given to them. Covenant of promise. This covenant, the promise was subverted by the children of Israel at the mount. Let's remember what happened to them. The refusal of Israel to take on the priesthood as a nation, on the level of a nation, they subverted this covenant of promise. Because y'all remember what happened? They went up to the mount. They stood below the mount, and they was exceedingly fearful. And they said, "We don't want to go up before His face." Remember that? Y'all remember that story? We send somebody before us. Send somebody. We don't want to go. If you're a nation of priests, what are you supposed to do? What does a priest do? What does a priest do?
Service.
He does. He goes before the Father in service, and he listens to the Father. That they rejected their priesthood, their birthright. Then they said, but when they said, but the Father come down there in the mountain and intended to give them the covenant of promise, and to be a nation of priests. They said, we don't want it. We don't want it. So if you have a contract, and I got this contract here, and this contract says you're going to be a nation of priests, and they go, wait a minute, send someone else before me. What does that do to the contract? Huh? And no void. So that covenant of promise is pushed to the side. He said, okay, if that's the way you want it, instead of the firstborn of Israel, I'll take the Levites to minister before me. That covenant was given to the house of Moses. And to a future date, when this covenant of promise can be established by our Messiah, reestablished. That Israel's going to be what? A nation of kings and priests. But this covenant was made by the children of Israel. When they said, we don't want to go before you. We don't want to hear your voice. So they made the covenant. They set the bylaws and the standards of the covenant. So there's a new covenant now given to them. It's the covenant of substitution. The Levites substituted their covenant, substituted the covenant of promise. Because it's intended for the firstborn of Israel, and all the nations that come before him. What is a covenant? What is a covenant?
Agreement.
Contract.
That's agreement. Agreement between what? Yeah, you're gonna have an agreement, right? So when the children of Israel says, we don't want to go before your face, what did the Father say? Spoken well. Okay, I agree with you. All right, we'll go this route. We'll go this covenant. If this is what you want, this is their covenant. And when it says in 31:31 that not like the covenant, not that covenant, when I brought you out of the land of Egypt, it was still before the mountain, not that covenant, but the covenant of promise is covenant. You know, he was going to let his real priesthood of rest, not like the forefathers when they chose their labor. They chose the labor of the priesthood. Think about it. You know, at one time, Father wanted to be their king. And what they say? We don't want you our king. We want a king like the rest of the nations. Then up on the mount, you had the fire and you had the smoke. You had both, led by day and by night. You had two of them there. One was getting ready to take his priesthood, to be their priest of this nation, the high priest of this nation, and they rejected him. We want a priesthood down here. I want to see my priest. But I want to see my temple. Like the people of the nations. That's got all these deals. I want a king. I want a king like the people of the nations. Let me have it. Let's have it. He's going, okay, I'll give it to you. Come up here. Come up here. And, you know, the temple was built. The high priest was ready to step into it and start the service. The firstborn of Israel. They rejected it. He said, okay, buddy, if y'all reject it, come up here to this high mountain. Let me show you something. Make a pattern of this. We know we're going to need a pattern of it. They got the pattern of it, of the true temple, not the one made with hands. Now let's understand what righteousness is. We have a personal righteousness, which is our righteousness. And what it is, it's a work or an established path of obedience. It's a walk. What would y'all call that? Our personal work is an established path of obedience, or it's your walk. What would I be talking about?
Obeying the commandments.
The Torah. It's the Torah. It's the commandments. Then there's another form of righteousness, another class of righteousness, and it's His righteousness, and that is reconciliation or divine service, or it's a restorative mission, and it's just our submission to His authority is what it is, and how that takes place, whether it's by the blood of bulls and goats or by the calves of our lips. It's just we submit to what He has established for righteousness. How important is righteousness, guys? You got to ask yourself, how important is it? You know, when I first started reading or getting into Scripture when I was a younger man, and I'd read stuff. Let's go to Romans 3. Let's go to Romans 3. And listen to this mess. Listen to it. Listen to it. But now righteousness of God without the law is manifested, being witnessed by the law of the prophets. This is 22. Oh, 3:22. I'm 3:21. 3:21. But now the righteousness of Elohim without the law is manifested, being witnessed by the law and prophets. Even the righteousness of Elohim, which is by faith into the Messiah, to all that believe there's no difference. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God, but being justified freely by His grace, through the redemption that is in the Messiah, who set forth to be a propitiation through faith to declare His righteousness for the remission of sin. I declare at this time that He's righteous, He might be the just and justify him that believes in the Messiah. Where is God? What is all that mess? What does all that mean? That's just a bunch of words put together. I don't know what that means as a young man. It made no sense to me. What is all that? What is in words? What is propitiation? What is righteousness? What is grace? Tell me what it is where I can lay my hands on. Is it just some kind of something that we say? Or is it something that is established? Something that is established. What is grace? What is righteousness? How do I attain to it? Because it seems like it's pretty important according to Scripture. And I hope that when I get through this study, we're going to go back through this same deal I just read, and when I read it to y'all again, we're going to understand it, what it is. And we talked about 2 houses a while ago, 2 priesthoods. And they all have the righteousness of that house, of them houses. Let's go to all y'all can help me if y'all want to. Y'all are awful quiet. I mean, y'all raise your hands or talk or whatever y'all want to do. Just because I got the hat don't mean that y'all can't talk. Let's look at Matthew 6:33. But seek ye first his kingdom and righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. First. Seek ye first his kingdom and righteousness. I'd say that's the number one thing to find out what this righteousness mess was, would you say? You understand the kingdom? And by the way, he said, my kingdom is not of this world. My kingdom is of this world, is below. Do not my people fight from them? He said, my kingdom is not of this world. The kingdom of God, you see, don't come with outward observation. I seek this kingdom above, not this one below. And its righteousness, not this righteousness below. Y'all can go out there and slit the animal's throat if you want to. I'm not going to do it. Let's go to Matthew 5 and 6. Blessed are they that do hunger and thirst after righteousness, because they shall be filled. Righteousness is pretty important. Pretty important subject. We already know what that is. Let's go to Revelations 19, 8 through probably 14. Starting at 8, 1 to 13. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen. White and fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. So it's clothing. It's, you can equate the righteousness is something that we put on. Does that make sense? It was something we put on. For he said to me, blessed are they which are called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he that said to me, these are true sayings. And I fell at his feet to worship him. He said unto me, see that thou do it not. I'm a fellow servant and of thy brethren. And they that has the testimony of Yahshua worship Elohim, for the testimony of the Messiah is the spirit of prophecy. Is the spirit of prophecy. Something you don't need. The spirit something we can't see. Let's look at 11. It says, and I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and him that sat upon it was called Faithful, True. Now listen, guys. In righteousness does he judge and make war. So the standard for him to be against you is righteousness. You are judged by your righteousness. So it must be pretty important that I got this on. That I have the righteousness of him, because that is the standard which he's going to come against you and make war with you. Is what's called righteousness. His eyes, in 12, his eyes were a flame of fire, and on his head was many crowns, and he had a name written that no man know but he himself. And he was clothed with the vesture dipped in blood. Now I want you to get this. If you get one thing, get this. And his name shall be called the Word of God. His name shall be called the Word of God. His Word. I want y'all to remember that. That's very important. That his name shall be called the Word of God. Give all prophets witness that through his name whoever believes in him shall receive remission of sin. These things I have written that you believe on the name of the Son of God, that you know that you have eternal life, that you believe on the name of the Son of God. And why is that name so important?
There's salvation in no other name.
Salvation. But why is that? What, I understand what it says, but why is that? Why is that?
It makes you want to know.
Let's think of the story. Now, I'll get that story later. But his name should be called the Word of God. Let's go from that to. See, this is another thing. He has a name. I want you to get this one too. What does it say? In 12, it says, "He hath a name written that no man knows but he himself." And we're going to find out something about that a little later too. Let's go from that to 2:17, Revelation 2:17. No, let's go 3:7. Let's go 3:11. Revelation 3:11. Behold, I come quickly. Hold fast which thou hast, that no man taketh thy crown. Him that overcometh, I'll make him a pillar in the temple of my Elohim, and he shall go out, and I'll write upon him the name of my Elohim, and the name of the city of my Elohim, which is the New Jerusalem, which cometh down from heaven of my Elohim. And I will write upon him my new name. He's got a name that you don't know unless he gives it to you, and you understand what it's for, and understand what it's set for in righteousness. He has a name. He said, and I'll write on him this word, you know what this new word new means? You know what the word new means? Kind of like a new moon. It's the same word. It don't go back to brand new. It goes back to restored. I'm going to give you my restored name. Kind of like the New Testament, it don't mean brand new, it just means restored. Restored. From the covenant of promise, not from the covenant of flesh, because they rejected their birthright. Let's go back from Revelation 2:17. He that hath an ear. Listen, you got an ear?
Yes.
Listen what the Spirit says. Unto the sin which the him that overcometh, I'll give him to eat of that hidden manna. What kind of manna is it?
Hidden.
A secret. And no man knows, so he receives it. The hidden manna, the hidden bread. And I will give him a white stone, and in that stone a new name written, which no man knoweth, save he receives it. What is that white stone? What is that?
Stone that makes you stumble, makes you fall.
Have you ever seen the cornerstone? You ever seen the cornerstone?
Yeah.
What color is it? White. White stone. And in that cornerstone, what's written? His name. He's going to build the temple, the house, the cornerstone. And we're going to stumble over that name. Don't understand what righteousness, what's set for righteousness. And what we just read over there in the prophets a while ago. It's a rock of stumbling, a rock of offense. And we got to put something on, guys. We like this as clothing. We just read in Revelations, in the Revelations. Let's go to Isaiah 11. One through 5. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, a branch shall grow out of his roots, and the spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, and the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel, and the might, and the spirit of knowledge, and the fear of Yahweh. And thou shalt make him of quick understanding for in the fear of Yahweh, and that he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, and reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor and reprove for equity for the meek of the earth, and he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips he shall slay the wicked. Because it can be a plumb line. There's a drop, it's something that's set for righteousness. Now what we've been talking about here is his redemptive work. His redemptive work. Not my righteousness, but his righteousness. What he established. His path that he established for me and you. The gospel's like saying, hey, you must get to the river down here. There's a river down here. I don't know if y'all know it. And you know, you got to get to the river. And it's just, you got to have the straight path. When the Messiah comes down, he cuts down all the trees for you. And then I follow that path that he's made for me, and I make it to the river, then that's my salvation because I've followed his lead. I've trusted in him. Can y'all see y'all's temple today? Can you see your temple? Can you see your high priest? Can you see him? Have you ever seen your high priest? Have you ever seen him? Because it takes by faith. By faith, the word says it's happening. It says he's entered the temple and he's accomplished service for it. He is my high priest now of my faith. But I can't see it. But I enter into the priesthood under him. I become a vassal priest under his house. That is the law established by faith. Now there's another house, the law established by work, labor, employment. Who was employed in the Torah under the house of Moses? Who was employed? The only people that was employed. Who was employed under the house of Moses? Levi. The priesthood was employed. They had a job to do. Their work. Their work. That's the law established by labor or work. The law of work or the law of faith established by a different priesthood. But the Torah is still the standard of sin. Now let's talk about our righteousness. Our righteousness. 1 John 3:4. What's it say? For whosoever commits sin transgresses the Torah. For sin is a transgression of the Torah. Now that might not shock a lot of us in here, but I'm sure a lot of people that read that is pretty much shocked by that when you bring that out to them. Because sin is the transgression of the law. Right? So how do I sin?
Break the law.
I break the law. I break the law. Let's go back. Let's stop right there. Let's go back to Romans. Let's go back to Romans 9:30 through 10:13 before we go into our righteousness. Now let's think about righteousness established by two houses, by two different priesthoods, with the necessity of the changing of the priesthood. It says in the book of Hebrews, there's also a necessity of what?
Changing the Torah.
Changing the Torah. And that's got to do with the ordinances of the Torah, of the sacrificial system. Starting 9:30. I call this the Great Owl. This is the Great Owl series right here. I love this one. This is I get a hoot out of this one. It's in 30, start 30. What shall we say then? No, let's go back up here. Let's go back to 28. Let's go up here to 9:28. For he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness. So the Messiah had the work to do. He come down to establish for us righteousness. Not my righteousness, which we'll learn about here in a little bit, his righteousness. But I attain to his righteousness through the Torah. Because I obey the Torah. It brings me into his righteousness. Because the short work were the master maketh on the earth. Why was it a short work? Why was it a short work? How was he died? It's short work. It's for the life of the man that says over there in Psalms is short. Short. When Satan says for his time was short because it was the time of a man, the lifetime of a man. You make a short work long work. And Isaiah said before, except the master of what was that word? Huh? What is that word? The Lord of what? Y'all still think we ought to keep the Sabbath? Had left us a seed, we'd been as Sodom and Gomorrah, and been made like it to Gomorrah. Wow. Okay. What seed did he leave us? Galatians. In Galatians it says, the seed, which is singular, which is the Messiah, not the seed of Abraham, not the house of Moses, unless he left us the seed, which is singular, in Galatians, which is the Messiah. Unless he left us that, we'd all perish. Let's look at 30. What shall we say then? The Gentiles which follow after, not after righteousness, have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith. Down here. Righteousness of faith. Who you align yourself with? The upper Jerusalem or the lower Jerusalem? Something you can't see? You just believe this book, and by faith you believe it. You know what was he asking the children of Israel to do under the house of Moses? To leave their father's house. They trusted the house of Moses for 2,000 years to enter into another house. Not as a friend, but as a son or a daughter. But Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, had not attained to the law of righteousness. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith. But we were all work, but as it were by the law works, by the works of the Torah, the employment, the works of the Torah. I'm going to translate all this a little bit. But as it were, the works of the law, and they stumbled at the stumbling stone. Of course, we know that they stumbled at the sacrificial system under which the Messiah's house is established, because we have the house of Moses, and what's set for it in righteousness. It says, as it is written, behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling stone, a rock of offense, whoever believeth not on him shall be ashamed or be confounded. You know what confounded means? Ashamed, it goes back to the word confounded. When were tongues confounded?
Tower Babel.
Tower Babel. And what happened? He confounded their language or made them ashamed. Right? All spoke a different language. And let me tell you something, guys. Don't let your language and have what you call on the Lord by what name you use confound you. Because your language can. Be careful what you call it. Because that name has been set in righteousness. Brother, my heart's desire and praise to Elohim for Israel that they might be saved. For I bear record that they have the zeal of Elohim, but not according to knowledge. For they, being ignorant of Elohim's righteousness and going on to establish their own righteousness, not has submitted herself to the righteousness of Elohim. They would leave their father's house. Abraham left her father's house, and he walked around looking for that house. Its maker was not the hands of man. He walked around looking for this house, the promise. He looked for it all over, because he believed it. He believed it. He wouldn't look for it. Think he found it? He didn't find it. He didn't see it either, but he believed it. Even though he looked for it, he didn't find it. He believed it. And it was accounted for him for righteousness. And this is the house that I'm believing, like the one Abraham believed in. This one, not this one down here.
Rick, great question. When we're talking about establishing the kingdom in heaven, but Yahshua said he came to establish his kingdom in our heart, which is after the kingdom in heaven, right?
Yeah, it's called Commonwealth. Well, he says, without the Messiah.
When you say Commonwealth, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, without the Messiah. See, what a Commonwealth is, it says in Ephesians, without the Messiah, we was not from the Commonwealth of Israel. But through him, we was brought into Israel. And that's another teaching on it. You know, you understand what a Commonwealth is, you understand how that works here on earth. It's the same way it works in heaven. It's the same way. There's the throne. There's where the king's land is, the king's home. But then there's other bodies that are subject to the king's law that are way off from him. Like Britain in Bahamas. You know, I always give that example. Bahamas was the Commonwealth of Britain. They kept the holidays in Britain. They kept, you know, at 12 o'clock they was all drinking tea in the 30s. They had their little beanies on with the three-piece suits on, just like they did over there in Britain. They dressed like the king. They act like the king. So we were born in a republic, so we don't understand what a Commonwealth is. Israel was always a Commonwealth. It's not the throne in Revelation never sits on the earth. Never comes to the earth. It's always a Commonwealth. That's not what I said. It's what the book says. It's Commonwealth. Right. I know what Commonwealth is. And the throne don't sit the Commonwealth. Our kingdom's not of this world.
Right.
All right. And I know that causes some other causes some other things to fall when you go, oh man, you know, that changes a lot of things. Yeah. Nothing does.
It makes more sense now, though.
Okay, let's go back up here to 10:5. For Moses described that the righteousness which is of the law, that a man that doeth these things shall live by them or in them, is what it says. But the righteousness which is of faith speaks on the wise. Here comes the great out. Don't say in thy heart, who shall ascend into heaven to bring down the Messiah down from above, or who shall ascend into the deep, and that gives it, that's bring up the Messiah from the dead. Now that's in parentheses, guys. And the other one is in parentheses too. But what said it? The word is nigh, even in thy mouth, in thy heart, in thy heart. And what I tell y'all to remember? One thing I told y'all to remember a while ago. No. Well, there in Revelation it says his name shall be called
Word of Elohim.
The Word of God. It's asking who. Don't say who. Look back here tonight. But what saith then? The word is in thy mouth. Don't say who. You know who it is. You know his name. You know what it is. Don't say who. The word is in thy mouth and in thy heart. The word, or that name of faith, in the system which we preach. Take that name upon thy lips as a sacrifice of praise. Offer it with thanksgiving by the calves of your lips. Enter into the priesthood that you don't see. But by faith you believe it, like Abraham, because the book, and he says it's there. I don't have to see my temple. I don't have to see my high priest, because he promised the flame that he was going to be a priest after order of Melchizedek. Because that was given to him. And so you got to understand the difference between Melchizedek, and the Levitical service. And the righteousness that's in he wants to sacrifice. He wants to sacrifice and he wants his name. He wants that name as a sacrifice. And let me make one. I'll get right with y'all. We got to be careful what we bring him. Okay, let's look at the first of the book. I like to start in the back of the book, and I like to start in the front of the book too. Either one, I don't care. But in the first, we look at an example of Cain and Abel, right? And this sort of scares us a little bit. You know, Cain brought grain, and Abel brought a lamb. And it said that the father had respect for Abel, but not for Cain's sacrifices. Now, but you look at the two. You know, and I can see Cain's point. You know, well, I hate my brother. He's got it easy. He follows a bunch of sheep around all day long. You know, he don't do nothing but sit around and watch them. Maybe shear them a little bit. I took the seed, put it in the ground, harvested it, and I even took and beat the seeds out of the head of that out of that deal. In labor, I done it. My brother, lazy brother, up there on the rock watching the sheep. And you don't want my sacrifice? You know, the father told me, he said, you know, I can see his point. He says, you know what I require of thee, why your conscience fail? Why are you mad? He wants what he wants. If he wants to sacrifice, okay, if he wants a name as a sacrifice of praise, we better have it right. We better have the name right. That name better come off our lips like it is. You can say, well, a name don't really matter. You know, we can use any name we want to. You know, it's got vowels. It's got consonants. It makes a sound. Well, how come the Levitical service we can't bring a pig? How come we can't sacrifice a pig? It's got feet. It uses the bathroom. It eats. It's got eyes. You know, it's an animal. It's an animal. Think about it. He wants what he wants, and how he wants it, and when he wants it. The Bible, in the book of Malachi, says, from the rising of the sun, even going down the same, he said, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. A pure offering shall be made. He said, but you have polluted it, and that you say, the table of the Lord, the fruit, even the meat, is contemptible. He's prepared us a table. What does it say over in the book of Hebrews? The sacrifice of praise is the fruit of our lips. It's the fruit. He said, you say that fruit is contemptible. The name of the sacrifice of praise you don't want to be a part of. And then this ain't us. We're here to the meat. What is the meat? What is the meat in Scripture? What does it say?
Solid food.
Huh?
Solid food.
Well, but he said, well, what is it? The Messiah says, my meat is to do what?
The will of the Father.
The will of the Father. We keep the Torah. We keep the Torah. We like the meat. Christianity don't like the meat. But we don't like the fruit. We think it's contemptible. Where are you at 9 and 3? Where are we at 9 and 3? With a sacrifice of praise is supposed to be given. Let's we had some questions a while ago. Y'all have questions?
Yeah, you keep bringing up Melchizedek. What does that word mean? What is
Well, you know what it means.
It means the king of righteousness.
King of righteousness.
Righteousness.
The king of righteousness, to establish righteousness.
He came from the firstborn of the family.
Mm-hmm. We're going to get into that.
Melchizedek was one of the children of Noah's son.
Some people say Shem. Some people say it was Shem.
According to Jasher,
The Shem, yeah, according to Jasher. It was Shem. Let's go back. The word that we preach, let's go to 9. Let's go to Romans 9:9. And it says, let's go back up to 7. Romans 10:7 is what it is. Or who shall descend into the deep? But what saith it? The word, his name, is nigh in thy mouth, in thy heart, and that is the name of faith in which we shall preach. If thou shalt confess with thy mouth the Master, and believe in the heart that Elohim has raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. For with the heart man believeth into righteousness, and into the mouth confession is made into salvation. And it's got to do with his name. The Spirit has said, whoever believeth on him shall not be confounded. In Revelation, what power and authority does Satan have? What is his power? What is his authority in Revelations? He has power over language. Language. It tells us over there in Revelation. Language. I didn't put that down in my notes, but it's there. Tongues and languages. If you had power over tongues and language, what would you do with it? You would use it, wouldn't you? You'd use what power you had, wouldn't you? What the adversary is always going to do is stop the sacrifice of Elohim. Stop the sacrificial system. That's what he wants to do. Or subvert it, or make it worse. There's no account. You have the tabernacle. You got the pomp and glory of the house of Moses. You bring your little lambs up there to the house of Moses. You in your heart, you're doing what you're supposed to do. You think, hey, this is what I'm back in that time. I'm bringing it up to the priest, and they're sacrificing it to Baal. And the Mother God of heaven, drink offerings to the Mother God of heaven. What has that profited you? The way of the priest is the way of the people. If the priests are wicked, the people are wicked. But I have a high priest now that's not wicked. And this verse is anything I want to know, I can ask. And he'll give it to me. It's not going to be perverted because of death. Because someone's son is not going to do what his father wants to do after generation and generation and generation. What we had under the house of Moses weekly went away because of that. We see what we see. We went from the priesthood went from house to house to house, didn't it? Within a little bit of the service, from one house to another. Because why? Because of the wickedness. And you see what happened to the priesthood. They get straightened up for a minute, they go right back, time and time again. Is that a fair system for the people? No, it's not. But Israel wanted it. He was there ready to be their high priest, ready to take that position. They said, "Oh we don't want that. Send someone else before us. We don't want to be that." And well, it says, and there's no difference between Jew, Greek, male or female. You're all one. All calls upon Him. We do that when we go into the water to baptism. It says things like that. It says, for many of you, here's your robe of righteousness. For many of you have been baptized in the Messiah. This is Galatians 3. Has put Him on. Your robe. This is your robe of righteousness. It's talking about the fine linen. You put Him on. It says there's no Jew, Greek, male or female. You're all one in Messiah. Then if you're Messiah, then you're Abraham's seed. And heirs according to the promise. Covenant promise given to Israel, that they'll be a nation of kings and priests. Now then, with that being said, let's go to 1 John 3:4. I think what they want to go there.
Mhm.
Let's go back there. What's it say? Let's go back. For whoever committed sin transgresses the law, for sin is a transgression of the Torah. Deuteronomy 6:24 and 25. This one, now I'll show you our righteousness. Deuteronomy 6:24-25. And the Master commanded us to do all these statutes to fear Elohim for our good always, that he might preserve us alive in his day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe and do all these commandments before Elohim, our Elohim, that he has commanded us. Now then, I have a responsibility in this deal called righteousness, because I have some righteousness. I have a walk that I have to attain to. He told Noah, he said, walk before me, what? What did he tell Abraham? Walk before me, what? Perfect. Perfect. He tells you to walk before me, perfect. Now, does that mean you're going to have sin in your life? No, someone had sin in their life. But they've done what they're supposed to do to reconcile or be restored back to him. But he told them to walk before him perfect. Let's do Isaiah 56. I think 56:1. Thus says the Master, keep ye judgment and do justice, for my salvation is come, and my righteousness is to be revealed. Now this is. Don't y'all look at this. He gave us the Torah. This is not Isaiah 56. We know you should go back and read the whole chapter, or the whole chapter of this. But he's going to reveal something to us in righteousness. I thought all righteousness is established in the Torah. There's something that he's going to reveal to us at a later time. Righteousness to be revealed. Something is going to be revealed to us. The prophets say it's coming. And so me and you need to be looking for this righteousness that's going to be revealed. And what is that righteousness that's going to be revealed to me? We're going to knock it out, maybe. Let's go to Matthew 5:15. I don't know why I put that on there. Let's look at it. See? I knew that didn't look right. No, see, I knew that didn't look right. Actually, there's nothing there. I done this study at 2 o'clock this morning. Let's go to Romans 3:20. No, I don't know what that's all about. I looked at that because I knew that was off and I looked at it. What I said we want to do? Okay, therefore by the deeds of the law shall no flesh be justified in his sight, for by the law is the knowledge of sin. In other words, therefore by the works, these deeds or works or employ, it goes back to the word employment. The employment of the law shall no flesh be justified in His sight by the law is only the knowledge of sin. And we're going to look at that here in a second too. Let's go to Acts 10:35. See, guys, there's something we have to do. Everybody says, well, I'm not saved by works. I'm saved by grace. But we'll find out in a little bit that it's through righteousness we receive grace. It's through righteousness that we receive grace. What's it say? But in every nation, he that feareth him, and what?
Worketh.
Worketh righteousness is what? It's accepted by him. I'm not saved by works. I'm not saved by works. I ain't got to keep the Torah. I ain't got to do none of that. But that's not the works we don't keep, but that's not what it's talking about. This is my personal responsibility to find out what the Torah says and to walk within them statutes, ordinances, and commandments. I have a personal responsibility. This don't have nothing to do with service. It's my or our personal or our established path of obedience to the Torah that we walk. We keep the Sabbath. We keep, all the stuff that the Torah says to do, we keep it. That's our righteousness. It's our righteousness. It's not His. But we have to enter into His, or what He has established, or the work, or the righteousness that's going to be revealed for us. If anybody says we don't, well, I don't have any work to do, or we're not saved by works, take them to this one.
I just ask you to read the next two verses of the one they're quoting.
What? Go ahead.
Because well, they usually quote Ephesians 2, chapter 2, verses 8 and 9.
But under this, it's been preordained that we walk in them.
Then the next verse.
Oh, go ahead and put it up there. Go ahead and put it up there.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it?
Ephesians 2:8-9, what you say?
I think, yeah.
Ephesians 2:8-9, I
I think so. I'm not.
I think it is. It says, for grace you're saved through faith that is not of yourself, it's a gift of Elohim. Okay, let's stop right there. That gift, what was the gift I said a while ago? What are we talking about? His gift, he had known that, he has a name that no one knows, say ye what? Receives it. And he writes it up on your forehead. And you receive it, and you understand what that name has been set for. It's the sacrifice of praise by the calves of our lips. Righteousness of the order of Melchizedek. Not of works lest any man shall boast, for we are His workmanship, created in the Messiah, the good works which Elohim hath before ordained that we should walk in them. What did we say? What is in Deuteronomy 6 a while ago? That we should walk in them, the statutes, orders, commandments. It's our path. And I'm responsible for this. When it comes to time for Sabbath, to keep the Sabbath, it ain't Elohim's responsibility, it's yours to walk the path. But He's got some righteousness He's responsible for, and we got to enter in that. We got to step over in it. First John 5:18. We know that whoever is born of Elohim sinneth not. But he that is begotten of Elohim, what's it say?
Keepeth himself.
Keepeth himself. There's no magic that's going to make you walk before Elohim. There's no anything. It's your responsibility. Oh, the Spirit maybe do it, or maybe, that ain't going to get it. You keep yourself. And the wicked one touches him not. You got a personal responsibility. That's yours and yours alone to walk within the Torah. Well, His commandments. And what the Torah and the commandments are is what? What is the Torah commandments? The knowledge of sin. What it's your constitution of the kingdom. He said, repent, the kingdom of Elohim's at hand. It's at hand. You can be a part of it. You can enter in. It says that the entrance was ministered into the everlasting kingdom of the Son. He said, come be a part of it. It's at hand. That is the gospel, what they call the gospel, or the good news. Repent. Turn. It's at hand. Enter in. I don't know what's going with that. Okay, let's go from that to James 1:27. Pure religion and undefiled before Elohim and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and the widows in their affliction, and what?
Keep himself
Keep himself what?
unspotted
Unspotted from the
from
world.
the world.
You have a personal responsibility. You've got a set of rules and regulations that we follow. Not many. There's not a whole lot of them. Real simple. Not grievous.
Somewhere around 10 of them.
Probably it condenses it down quite well. Can y'all see your personal responsibility? We can go on. You know, guys, a teaching like this, I could do 15 weeks, but I try to condense it down, you know, as much as I can to get what I need said. But there's so much on this right here alone. I could go 15 weeks, stand up here before y'all 15 weeks, and give a teaching on righteousness. The last time I done a deal on righteousness. It was 7 or 8 weeks we spent the study. Is that James? Let's go to Romans 12:2. It says, be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable, perfect will of Elohim. Hey, go up before that. Go before that. On that. This is part of the sacrificial system of Melchizedek, right here. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercy of Elohim, present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable. What does it say over there in Hebrews 13? Start right there. Start there. Hebrews 13. It says, don't move it. You read what it says? Here we go. Y'all stay there. Keep the thought. Because it's important. I want y'all to get this. By him, therefore, let us offer the sacrifice of praise to Elohim continually, that is the fruit of our lips, giving thanks to his name. But to do good and communicate, and forget not, for which such sacrifices Elohim is well pleased. What does it say? What is accepted? What is he well pleased with? Become a part of the sacrificial system of Melchizedek. What he's asking. Enter into that house, into that priesthood. The Messiah's house, not Moses's. Let's go from Romans 5:17. For as by one man the offense of death reigned by one, much more they which received abundance of grace and the gift of righteousness. What is it?
Yeah.
It's a gift. What did he give us to us over there in Revelation? He gave us his name. He wrote that name in your forehead. He had a name that no one knoweth that he that received it. Received it. It's the rock of stumbling, the rock of offense. And I'm going to step here and tell you that you got to have that sacrificial, you got to be part of the sacrificial system of Melchizedek. And you got to have your sacrifice right, and you bring to him what he wants. Because it has been set in righteousness, and he won't take anything else but that. Okay. I want y'all to see that the righteousness that he gives us is a gift. Romans 5:21. And how does righteousness reign? 5:21. That as sin hath reigned into death, even so that grace reigneth through what?
Righteousness.
Are we saved by grace? Through faith? Because it's established by righteousness. Something we have to do. Something we have to adhere to. Y'all see that? That sin is reigning to death, even so that grace reigns through righteousness. Yeah, that's what it is. Obedience to his will, or to his gift, or what he gives you. That's what it is. It's obedience. It's a submission to his authority. Is how we start. We submit ourselves to what he says. Okay. Let's go from that to 5:21. We're about finished, guys. And I want y'all to remember, the story of Cain and Abel, and understand what went on there, what we just talked about a little bit earlier. The Father has a requirement of us, and He wants us to bring what He wants us to bring, and nothing else will do. Let's go to Romans 3, 20 and 21. We've been here before, haven't we?
Yep.
This is therefore by the deeds of the law shall no flesh be justified in his sight, for the law is the knowledge of sin. But now the righteousness of the Father without the law is manifested, being witnessed by the law and the prophets. This is this righteousness he said would come. This is the righteousness he said would come. Now I want to ask you a question. When he was in the water, what did he tell John? It's for us to fulfill all righteousness. This is the righteousness talking about in Isaiah 56. That's going to be revealed. The entrance into the kingdom. How we enter into the kingdom. How you receive remission of sin under the sacrificial system of Melchizedek. It's not the ministration to death through animal sacrifices. It's administration through life. Become a living sacrifice. Living act of sacrifice. Let's go to Hebrews 10, 11, and 40. This is talking about these that went ahead of it before us. Y'all remember when the Messiah was resurrected? Y'all remember when he was resurrected? What happened when he was resurrected? Huh? What happened? Oh, no, when he was resurrected.
Oh, when he was ready. Oh, that was-
You talking about Lazarus?
Baptized.
The Messiah, when he was resurrected.
Oh.
What else happened? What else happened?
40 weeks before the Father.
Yeah, but what else happened? There's something we always overlook.
That was-
He appeared-
Oh, Rob's got it. A bunch of other people was resurrected too. A whole bunch of people was resurrected. A whole bunch. And these are the ones under the altar saying, "How long, O Lord? How long till your father?" And these were the ones that was resurrected were martyred for their faith. They had it in the house of Moses. Revelation 6:11. And white robes were given unto them, every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season until their fellow servants also, their brothers should be killed, as it should be fulfilled. This is talking about the witnesses. It was 3.5 days. They lay dead for 3.5 days. That's about the time the Messiah was resurrected in the timeline of 7,000 years. 3.5 days. So when he was resurrected, who else was resurrected? And then without us, are not made perfect until the last gathering, which is us, which is what? The last gathering is what? The gathering of what? Tabernacles. The end time, the end fruit. The end time fruit. And when we're resurrected, that will be the last resurrection. And then these two bodies, the house of Moses and the house of Yahshua, will come together as what? One body being made perfect. He said, because he said, without us, we're not made perfect. We're not made perfect. That's a little side reveal there. Now let's go back. And let's look at something here. Let's look back at Romans 3. And I'm going to retranslate this stuff from what we learned today. You know, when I first looked at this, I thought, what is all this mess? The righteousness of God, the glory, justified freely, redemption, propitiation. What is all that mess? It made no sense to me in the beginning until I was able to grab a hold of some understanding from the prophets and the Torah. Now let's go back and reread this. Let's see if I can do it. Let's start at 3:21. But now the righteousness of Elohim, without the law of works, without the congregation or the body of Moses, is manifested, being witnessed by the body of Moses and the prophets. That deal is going to be revealed to us in Isaiah 56. That's what we're talking about, the righteousness will come. Even the righteousness of Elohim, which is by faith in the Messiah, and to all of them believe there's no difference. In other words, there's no male or female. It always says that after it talks about baptism. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of Elohim, being justified freely through His grace, which we know that grace is through righteousness. We just figured that out. It reigns through righteousness. Something we have to do. Through the redemption that is in Messiah, whom Elohim has set forth to be a atonement, a covering, an atonement. We learned that last week. Through faith in His blood, declaring what He established for me, His righteousness. For the remission of sin that are past and forbearance of Elohim. Where's remission of sin in Acts? Where does it say to get it at? Repent, be baptized, every one of you, in His name, for what? It's for service. His name is meant for service. For what? The remission of sin. His name has been set in righteousness. We must grab a hold of it and let it come off our tongues as a sacrifice. Declare, it's 26, declare I say at this time, His righteousness or His work. When He went into the water and blazed away, He said it's for us to fulfill all righteousness. The one is talking about by the prophets over in Isaiah 56:1. He told us that we're going to establish the path. Follow Him. Declare I say at this time, this is 26, His righteousness, that He might be the just and justify him that believeth in the Messiah. Everybody says, well, I believe in the Messiah. Well, have you put what He's prepared for us? Have you believed what He's done for us, the work that He come to do? He had a work in righteousness. He had to do something that I wasn't asked to do. It was His righteousness. He had a path. He had a way to walk because His Father said, walk this way. Do this for me. And it was His righteousness because He was what? Obedient to the Father's will. And then I enter into His righteousness and I put it on. Like I said. This is 26. I declare at this time His righteousness that He might be the just and the justifier of him that believes in the Messiah. Look at 27. Where is the boasting? Is it excluded by what law? The house, the Levitical service? But nay, by what law? The law of the Levitical service, but nay, by the law of Melchizedek. There's the law of works. It's the Torah established by the house of Moses. Then there's the law of faith established by the Torah and the house of Yahshua, Melchizedek. And that's what it asks. It says, do you desire to be under the law? Do you not hear the law? It's negative. It's a negative connotation. But it's talking about the law of works, not by the law of faith. Not the law established by a different priesthood. Therefore, we conclude that man is justified by Melchizedek. That a man is justified by Melchizedek without Moses. Without Moses. Is he the Elohim with the Jews only? Is He not also the Gentiles? Yes, of the Gentiles also. Seeing that there's one Elohim that shall justify the circumcision by faith. They're going to come the same way we come. And the uncircumcision also by the same faith, through faith. Then, but this is the question where you won't be confused. Do we make void the law through faith? No. We establish the law. Because you have a personal responsibility in this what's called righteousness. You have a walk that you have to do. And not only it's laid out before us in something we call the Torah, there's also something we have to aspire to look for and see what's established and put that on. And if you think it's your righteousness that gets you there, it's His righteousness. When you put on the robe, do you think the Father sees you? When you put on the Messiah, when you put Him on, do you think that put on the new man? Does it put on the new man? I go on and on. And Isaiah says there'll be a day where a man will be a covering, a covert for the storm. It's three places he talks about that in Isaiah. That a man is going to be for a covering. We're going to put him on. We're going to put him on. When you put that robe of righteousness on, do you think that the Father sees you?
No.
What does He see?
His Son.
He sees a firstborn of Israel, is what He sees. So what's happened, the Messiah's come down and offered you first and original covenant given to Israel, that you'll be a nation of priests that's able to accomplish the service of Elohim. Whole nation. So the original, what we enjoy today through what we call the gospel, the original covenant that we have today, the one we have today, is not the one that it's not the one. How would I put this? The one we have today is the first covenant offered to Israel. They rejected it. They said, we don't want to hear his voice. We don't want to be priests. Send somebody before us. And today we have a decision too. We all have a birthright here. We all have a birthright. Are you going to reject your birthright and say, oh, I don't want to hear his voice or be in that service. I don't want to do that. Or are we going to enter into that service? To the sacrificial system. And that's all another teaching. But we hear Jordan's been touching on it, and now he touches on it too. Touches on a lot of it too. That's another. We'll get more into that a little bit later if y'all's interested. But anyway, does anybody have any comments or questions? Or did I lose everybody? Go ahead, sir.
We need to keep remembering that about the firstborn.
The what?
The firstborn,
Firstborn. Yes. Yes.
because that's the example of Melchizedek.
Exactly. And when we put that robe on, we're able to operate within that Melchizedek system because we are a firstborn of Israel. We're seen as the firstborn of Israel. And I always give the example of, when I talk about that is, if I went to a judge's chamber and he wasn't there and he had that black robe and I put it on. Well, when I walked into the courtroom and the courtroom was full of people, what would happen?
They all stand up.
They'd all stand up because they seen the robe and they honored the robe, not who was under it. I'm not a judge. But when I walked into that judge, all the people would stand up. So when I put on the robe of righteousness, it's not because of my righteousness, not because of mine. It's because of His and what He done. Go ahead.
So the firstborn of Israel was born under the law.
Under the law. The law of works. And He established the law of faith for us. You got any other questions? Comments? Go ahead.
Well, way back, was Yahweh's boat.
Yeah.
I don't understand it's a boat.
Well, it's not, let Roger, it's like the Lord of Sabbath, or, what is that?
No, in
The scripture, what scripture say?
hosts,
The Lord of what?
hosts, H-O-S.
Hosts.
Yeah, not Sabbath.
It said it's the Lord of, that means the Lord of armies, the Lord of, the master of armies is what it is. And what was resurrected with Him was an army. I don't know if y'all know that. He was resurrected as an army. Goes back to Ezekiel, the Valley of Dry Bones. A lot of people may not agree with that, but I'll make it line up. But anyway, any other questions or comments? Are y'all confused? Go ahead.
You made a comment about our praises of our lips and the prayers at 9 and 3.
Yes.
Expand on
Okay, let's go to Malachi. You know, the house of Moses was for a shadow of good things to come, but the body is Messiah. The body is Messiah. The service of the house of Moses will be a type and shadow of the service of Melchizedek. And we see that in, when Daniel was in the dispersion, what did he do? When he was away from what?
From Jerusalem, he would turn toward Jerusalem.
And he do what?
He prayed.
And pray. Okay. So what people don't realize, what time is it? Am I running late?
1 to 5.
Okay, is everybody, can we go on? I mean, no, but ask me the question again. What's the question again?
She was saying about the time of prayer. Like
Okay, let's go to
prayer.
let's go to Malachi. Let's go to Malachi. In Nehemiah, the father rejected Levites for being priests over his people. Right? Remember that? Okay. Let's go to Malachi 1. Let's start in 1:6. And this is going to tell you, and we're going to learn a few things, but this is what it says. It says, if the son honored his father and the servant his master, then if I be a father, where's my honor? If I be a master, where's my fear? Says the Lord of hosts. And what people don't realize is a long time ago, a guy told me about John Davis. He's a black guy that I hung out with for years, and he was a preacher too. But he taught me something about that. A slave would take the name of his master. And if you was caught and you lied about your name, you was put to death. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize that went on. And what does the son do to honor his father?
Be obedient. Obey him. Take on
Wait.
and obey him.
Well, you take on his name. Your son carries your name from generation to generation. That's your honor. It's going to go from the next generation. The master takes on the name of the servant of his master. You know. That's what it says. If I be your master, where's my fear? In other words, how come you haven't taken my name? How come you profaned it? My name is what he's saying. Says the Lord of hosts. Oh, you priests that have despised my name, and they don't even understand it. They said, where have we despised thy name? How have we despised your name? He said, you despised it because they changed it. They called upon Baal and all the other deities of heaven. You offer polluted bread upon my altar, and you say, wherein we polluted thee. And you say to the table of the Lord is contemptible. And you offer the blind for sacrifice. Is it not evil? When he wants a name for a sacrifice, you're going to give half the name. You're going to skip a few syllables. Do you not care what sacrifice that you give? You know, under the order of Melchizedek. It says, if you offer the lame and sick, is it not evil? Offer it now to the governors, if he will be pleased with you or accept thee in thy persons, says the Master of Hosts. And now I pray you to seek Elohim, that he'll be gracious unto us. This has been by your means, he will regard your person, says the Master of Hosts. Who is there even among you that would shut the doors for naught, neither do you kindle fire on my altars for naught? I have no pleasure in you, says the Master of Hosts, neither will I accept your offerings at your hands. Now then, let's go from there. He said, I'm not going to do that no more. I'm through with Moses. I'm done with Moses. From the rising of the sun, even going down the same, my name shall be great among the Gentiles. In every place, incense shall be offered into my name. A pure offering for my name shall be great among the heathen, says the Lord of hosts. But this word in 12, but, is the biggest word in the Bible. But if. It's the biggest words in the Bible. But and if. But you have profaned, you say, the table of the Lord is polluted the fruit, even the meat is contemptible. And when we go back to, you ask where it comes from, the rising of the sun, and you go down, that's an idiom for the times of the daily sacrifices, 93. Now Daniel, when he was in the expulsion, he prayed. Roger, he prayed 5 times a day or 3 times a day. I can't remember. 5 times a day, I believe it was. At noon, he prayed 5 times a day. But you've seen over there in Chronicles and Kings, when you look at and the master started talking to David about the coming kingdom of his, being born from his loins, his son. If you look at all that, that's a dual prophecy. That what he's talking about is not about Solomon's kingdom, because we missed it. We missed the kicker at the end of it, because he told David that after he goes after he's gathered with his fathers, with his fathers, he's going to raise up a son after his death. And David says, "Surely you speak of my house in a long distance of time." Solomon received the kingdom before David's death. But when it says his name shall be Solomon, it really his name shall be peaceable. He's talking about the Messiah. That name is going to be peaceable. And what does it say in First Chronicles? If you're far away from the tabernacle, he says, "Lift up your hands and pray." And he said, "What? Your sins will what? Be forgiven." And that's why in the New Testament they said, "Lift up holy hands without fear of wrath." Because they were pointing toward the east. They were doing like this. Because here we have no continuous city. We know the one it's talking about. It's this way. Without fear of wrath. So you'll see that. You'll see. We don't have to see the temple. We don't have to be close proximity to it. We lift our hands in prayer. At 9. I say 3 times a day, 9, noon, and 3. Well, it's what I would think the service would be from what I see. I'm flexible on that. I go from 5 to 2. Flexible on that. I need some help. Somebody help me. But no, really, I'd be flexible on that and understanding that. That's something I've looked at too. But right here it says from the rising of the sun, and that's the daily. That there was Roger, you can attest this too. Every day there was a base sacrifice every day, and it was that 9 and 3. That was the base. Now in other days, the Sabbath had a different had another sacrifice, and then the feast days had these other sacrifices that were stacked on here. Some of the days had a bunch, but your basic sacrificial day was 9 and 3. Is that not right, Roger? Is that right? Okay. So at least do the 9 and 3. At least.
But also, starting at 9, there was no offerings before 9 o'clock. That's when they started.
Yes.
And then the ordinary people, would bring an offering, a peace offering, a free will offering. And so between 9 and 3, and there was no offerings after 3.
That's 3.
Just in that 6-hour period. And so anytime during that, but you're right, there was the first one at 9, the last one at 3.
At 3, exactly. Daily. And that's the basic, the cheapest they got out. Is that.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. Daily. A living sacrifice. But that's and there's a lot more. Girl, that's another study too. But basically, if you go to Malachi, look over here. Look over here in Malachi 2, and it says, "And you shall know that I have sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant might be with Levi, says the Lord of hosts." My covenant. This is the covenant of priesthood that's been done away with. The Torah has not been done away with. The priesthood within the Torah has been done away with. This is what it says. "My covenant was with him of life and peace, and I gave it to him for the fear where he feared me was afraid before my name. The law of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from sins." The priest's lips should keep knowledge. They should seek the law of his mouth. For the messenger, they are the messenger of the master of the Lord of hosts. But look at 8. There's that big word, but. "But you are departed out of the way. You have caused many to stumble at the law. You have corrupted the covenant of Levi." So The covenant was taken away from Levi and given it to the Messiah after the order of what?
Abigail.
Melchizedek. But it's still based around the Torah. Okay. That's the ordinances. Yes. What's changed is the ordinance. If you look at the last of the book, there it says, remember the law of Moses, my servants, which I commanded thee, and to him, remember you the law. That's what it says. Remember you the law. This is the last book. Remember you the law of Moses, my servant, which I commanded to him in Horeb for all of Israel, with its statutes and judgments. Ordinances are not mentioned there, and they usually are. Statutes, ordinance. There's always a list of ordinances. But was itself in Ephesians? He nailed what to the cross? The ordinances, not the Torah. How things are accomplished in the sacrificial system. The ordinances. This way now. Not like this. Not of death. Slaying. Like this. But anyway, guys, unless y'all got any more questions, I'm screaming hard enough. I had fun though.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you.
Is that it? Yeah. All right.